Oh, here we
You're not
go.
live.
It's preparing to live stream the meeting, it's saying. So this looks like it's going to work. It's like a bar loading up at the moment.
Right, I'm going to click into it.
Done. Redirect into YouTube.
Live now.
It says live in 4 minutes, 34 seconds.
Ah.
That's what's coming up on your channel right now.
Thing I can't see myself.
Well, I think we're live, and only me and Mark are showing on screen.
Oh, that ain't good then, is it?
There you are.
Okay. I think you're there now.
All right, I think we're live, guys. Hopefully.
I still don't think you're showing on screen though. Live. I'm watching it here on YouTube. I don't think that. I still don't think you're showing up. You're showing for me and Mark, but you're not showing up. Oh, you are now. We're up and running.
All right.
Okay, we're on.
All right, guys, we're live, hopefully. So I've got Darren Sullivan from Sleeve Saturday here. All right, Darren.
All right, boys.
And I've got Mark Cloer, of course, and he's here to obviously give his knowledge as usual, both of you guys. So we're here today to discuss replacement singers. So good ones at that. So ones that probably deserve a little bit of, bit more than they get, probably looked on a bit of a, when they've taken over from a classic singer, especially in a band, are they given a good chance? Probably not. It's hard, isn't it, to replace these great singers. So we've got to go through some bands and some singers, our favorites that we think deserve a go, should be taken seriously, and probably haven't, even though they've got all the skills to do it. Do you know what I mean? So even
agreed, as in if they were the original lead singer and were replaced by the person that's the legend of the group, people would say that they were the legend. They're kind of they're good. They're good enough.
Exactly, definitely. Yeah. These are our favourites. So I'm sure, hopefully, some of you guys out there. I don't know if I'm getting any comments today, but I can't see nothing at the moment.
Feedback? Are you guys getting feedback or just me?
I'm not.
Okay. Keep going.
Okay, so replacement singers. So we're going to go around the table. Now, we've sorted out beforehand because we thought we might have a few that are the same. So we made sure we're not going to talk about the same people. So it's a little bit different than our normal shows where we don't really know what we're going to choose. We know, which is cool, but we don't know what each other thinks of them singers, fully. I've got about 8 to talk about. I think you've got 6, Darren, but you can chip it. You know some of the ones we've got anyway, so you can chip in.
Yeah.
And I think Mark's got 7 or 8, something like that. So who wants to go first? We go Mark first this time?
Yeah, go for it. Go, Mark. See what you got.
Well, I'm going to get the obvious one out of the way first. I sound like a broken record. Lee and I just talked about this guy a couple of days ago, but my all-time favorite singer in the world just happens to be Tony Martin.
Drum roll.
Yeah. I know that's a shocker. But technically, he replaced Ray Gillan in Black Sabbath, who replaced Glenn Hughes, who replaced Ian Gillan. I could go on and on, but that doesn't get the respect he deserves. He joined at the last minute to re-record the vocals on the Eternal Idol album. And he's the second longest serving vocalist behind Ozzy. Just as Lee and I talked about the other day, just an incredible singer who just did not get the respect he deserved. A lot of people think that if it's not Ozzy or Dio, it's not a legitimate version of Sabbath, or it's not a legitimate Sabbath singer. But I don't know what the deal is now. I don't know who actually owns the name Black Sabbath. Some sources say Ozzy owns half of it, Tony owns half of it now. But back in the day, Tony Iommi owned the name. He could do what he wanted to. If he wanted to start a new version of Black Sabbath with Lee on vocals, me on drums and Darren on bass and call it Black Sabbath, he could do it. So as far as I'm concerned, the Tony Martin era was just as legitimate as any of the others. And I just love his voice, always will.
Even though it's fictional, and even though it's fictional and fantasy, I'm not on bass. I'm on lead guitar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to share lead guitar with Tony Iommi because he's still in the band.
Oh, true. Yeah.
So the trouble is, whenever you like on these Facebook sites, these Black Sabbath social media sites, it's always Ozzy versus Dio. It's always the same. It's nothing ever. And then you get the odd comment below. What about Tony Martin? The odd comment. It's such a shame because, and this is the problem as well. I said to you before, and Mark, he's compared to Dio because of the way he sings. He's more of a Dio singer.
Right.
And, you know, Dio's like most people's favourite vocalist in metal. He's right up there. And, you know, and it's a shame, but he has got an absolutely outstanding voice. Totally right. Could sing the phone book, like you said. Tony Martin's a good choice, though, mate. They're absolutely brilliant. Like I said, we had a program about that the other day. Couldn't agree fully. Okay, Darren.
Good show, that actually. Well done, that guys. Enjoyed that. Right, I am going with Lou Graham's replacement, Kelly Hansen, who joined Foreigner in 2005. I think Lou Graham left Foreigner in 2003, and Kelly Hansen joined in 2005. We talked about Kelly, didn't we, on our ballads show? I think it was the ballads show we talked about it. I brought up one of the songs from the only album that they released with Kelly. I think he's a great singer. He looks a bit like Steven Tyler, but I'm sorry, I'm just got a bit of feedback there. He looks a bit like Steven Tyler, but he looks like a rock star. Good voice on him. There's no drama between him and the rest of the band, or particularly Mick Jones, who owns the group. But I think if anyone was going to step into Lou's shoes, it would be Kelly Hansen. I'll say one thing though. Do you know? You might not know it, Mark. Lee, you know that joke from Only Fools and Horses about Trigger's broom, where he gets like 15 new handles and 27 new heads, and then they went, well, it's not the same broom anymore. You know, it's a different broom. It's not the same broom. Yeah. At what point is a band Trigger's broom? At what point can you just keep taking members out where there's not an original member left? You know, it's not the same band then. Yeah. You know, I know that's a different question, but we're talking replacement singers.
Is there an actual band out there that has got no original members left?
Quiet Riot.
Quiet Riot.
Yeah, Frank.
And Foreigner themselves have appeared on stage without Nick, which he's the last.
When I saw Foreigner back in 2011, I think it was, Mick Jones was actually sick, and Joel Hoekstra filled in for him. So it was basically a Foreigner cover band.
Exactly.
There were no original members, but they still put on a great show. I mean, the people in the audience, the vast majority of the people in the audience probably didn't know the damn difference. But
I suppose it depends as well how long them members have been there. So, like, you know, if one of them, if a bass guitarist, for instance, joined on the second album, they wouldn't be the original member. They've been in the band for like 30 years. You know what I mean? So, depends how long they've been there as well. Some of these bands, old bands, have got like members that are coming in and out. They're young guys, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? That have been there 5 minutes. But yeah. I suppose it depends how long they've been in the band as well, but good point that though. I've seen him live, by the way, Kelly Hansen, and he was brilliant live with Foreigner.
I've watched a few interviews with him as well. Seems like a nice guy, but I thought good replacement for Lou.
Darren, are you familiar with Hurricane that Kelly was in back in the 80s?
I am, but I haven't listened to a lot. I know that he had moderate success in the 80s and early 90s. He was a session singer as well, wasn't he?
Hurricane never hit it really big, but they did have some MTV play back in the day. But I first saw them, they opened for Stryper in 87, the very first time I saw Stryper. And Hurricane was opener, Kelly, was a singer. And I knew back then, I said, man, that guy's got a hell of a voice. Yeah. Who knew that years later he'd be in Foreigner, one of the biggest known bands in the world. Yeah,
it's just about getting the breaks, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know what people have actually. I don't follow Foreigner intently. Like, you know, I don't look out in the media from anything like that. So I was wondering what fans actually think of Kelly Hansen. I've never heard anything.
It's all about Lou. For the hardcore fans, it's all about Lou. It's Lou or it's nothing. You know,
it doesn't matter how good you are, man, and that's what a lot of this would be about. But it doesn't matter how good you are. Yeah, honestly, right? Okay, so I'm going to go with a bit of a lot of them are very everyone I know, but this one it might be a little bit unusual. So there's a band I bang on about called Heat, quite a Swedish band. They had 2 albums out with Kenny Lacremo, who was the original singer, which is a good singer, by the way. But they got a guy called Eric Gromwell, who's just an amazing singer. He actually, we've mentioned this before, where we've ripped the piss out of each other about them Idol programs, you know. Swedish Idol, Eric Gromwell was on. And he didn't win it. He didn't win it or anything, but he became famous in Sweden because of Swedish Idol and became the lead singer of Heat. And he just brought so much into the band. He's got such a powerful voice, and he's apparently, well, I've seen a few videos of him live. He's got some excellent stage presence as well. And he actually became more the fans' favourite after taking over, even though the first thing was really good. And now he's left again, and the original singer's come back in. So, yeah, a bit of a weird one, that. But they're both good singers. I prefer Eric Gromwell, but I'm still excited to see what the band are going to do from now. You know,
I don't think we ripped the piss. What happened was we were doing the show. I came on and I was going to bring up Daughtry like I always do, where you guys just whatever I say, you guys kind of roll your eyes sometimes at me and just go, "Here he goes again," you know, his soft rock, pop rock shit. And then you guys surprised the shit out of me because he just went, "I like Daughtry, no problem with," because he was on Idol, wasn't he? That's how he got his. That's how he got his. I think that's what happened.
There's that band Riot. The singer done a bit of The Voice. Apparently, he went on The Voice a little while ago. The metal band. You got one of my favourite singers, Jean Londe, just entered blimmin' Eurovision Song Contest. So there you go.
There you go. You know.
Who cares?
Look,
Who cares?
there is talent. There's talent on them. Them shows are shit, but talent can come out of them. So there you go.
They can, mate.
Yeah.
So that's my bit of my more odd choice. That one, some people might not have heard, but great singers, both of them. But my favourite was the second singer, and then he's gone again. But anyway, back to Mark for your second choice, mate.
And you can't say Tony again.
Oh damn! My second pick is probably, if I think about it, probably my second favorite singer, Doogie White. From most known from Rainbow. He joined Rainbow in '95. Rainbow had already been inactive for a number of years, but technically he replaced Joe Lynn Turner. I remember when it was first announced that Rainbow was coming back, I just assumed Joe Lynn Turner would be back for another album, but they announced an unknown singer named Doogie White. The first thing that I could think of was Doogie Howser. I remember thinking, who the hell is Doogie White? Never heard of this guy. And turned out he was just like Tony Martin. When I heard him, I said, my God, where's this guy been all my life? Incredible singer. He's a Scottish singer. That Rainbow album he did, Stranger in Us All, kind of went back to the formula from when Dio was in the band. When Dio left, they went in a much more commercial, radio-friendly direction. But with the Doogie White era, they went back to that kind of medieval mythology type subject matter. And anyway, he's just an incredible singer. He only did the one album with him, but he's also stepped in as replacement singer for a few other bands. One was Tank, which was one of those new wave of British heavy metal bands. He did 2 albums with them. He was in Yngwie Malmsteen's band for a while. And technically, he actually replaced Tony Martin in a band called Empire. Tony had done 2 2 albums with Empire, and then I don't know why he didn't join for the 3rd album, but they brought in Doogie White for an album called Chasing Shadows. And anyway, he's just another incredible singer and has kind of made his living replacing other singers. He's actually with Michael Schenker now, among other singers. They're doing that multiple singer thing right now. And I don't know if you knew this or not, Lee, but he actually was almost in Iron Maiden.
Really?
It came down to Doogie White and Blaze Bayley. I don't know if they chose Blaze Bayley.
Yeah.
Doogie would have been much more fitting for that band, I think. I mean, I like what Blaze did pretty well, but I think Doogie would have been a much better singer for Iron Maiden.
Definitely.
There was a Maiden tribute album where he contributed a couple of songs, one of which was Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. And he sounded incredible on that. So I can only imagine what Iron Maiden would have sounded like with Doogie White.
Did you just say he's your 2nd favorite singer of all time?
Yeah.
Yeah,
probably. Yeah.
Wow. Hey, Mark, remember, speaking of Iron Maiden, remember that time Lee and his band opened up for Iron Maiden? Remember that? That was great, wasn't it?
Opened up for him, yeah. I was watching, all right.
No, you told me you were on stage with your band. Did you not say you were on stage? It was in a pub. You did.
It was in a pub. No, my band used to play in the same pub. They don't twist my words and make me not live anyway.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, I love
anyway, but Doogie White's a good choice. He is a great singer. I like a bit of Doogie White. He's in Cornerstone as well, isn't he? Great singer. Is it Cornerstone? Yeah, great singer. Okay, where's your blimmin' top today anyway?
What? My what? What are you talking about?
My missus's top. Why ain't you got it on? Oh, you've left. Well, you've been here again, ain't you? You left it here.
Hey! Your missus said she'd hide that. This is outrageous.
Right, go on in, mate.
Lee, is that
all right?
Is that the one your cat was humping?
Yeah. He's behind me, actually. Look, Vampy's asleep over there somewhere. He'll probably come up in a minute.
Well, make sure you wash it before I get it back then. All right, my next up, I'm going to go, probably not really, your audience probably might not be into these guys, but I'm going Genesis. I'm going Phil Collins replacing Peter Gabriel in 1975. I'm not get me wrong, I've had arguments with Genesis fans, I've tried that previous Peter Gabriel stuff, all, anything pre-75, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway is great, like that. But in general, that prog rock stuff with Genesis, not a fan of. After that, with Phil Collins replacing him, that's when I start really, Trick of the Tail, Duke, my favorite album by them, obviously Invisible Touch, the pop rock kind of stuff in the mid-80s. Man, I just think Phil Collins just came out from behind the drum kit and just became a superstar, both as a solo artist and with Genesis. Now, to be fair, so did Gabriel. Gabriel went on to be a big star as well himself, but not as big as Phil. I love the story of it. I love the story of the fact that for years and years and years, Phil just sat behind the drums and sang away, and he just steps out. And they did audition other singers, Genesis. They auditioned tons of singers to come in, and Phil would kind of warm them up and say, here's how you sing this song. And they could have just realized that that their lead singer was already in their midst. The guys, and Phil stepped out front and center, and his solo career. I don't think
there's ever been a bigger. There ain't many more changes in direction as bands, is there, than that? From that Peter Gabriel to Phil Collins, that massive, huge, and that's why the fans are so divided with Genesis, like hugely.
Well, Yeah, but it wasn't instantaneous the way you might think. I mean, they did for the next couple of albums after Gabriel left. I can't think of the name of the one, their first one after Gabriel left, but that was still on the same kind of formula. That was still running down what they've been doing with Peter. It was incremental. It incrementally changed over 4 or 5 albums. By the time then you get to 87, 86, you've got Invisible Touch. It was slower than you might think. So I think Phil gets a little bit of a bad rap because he did continue on the Peter stuff for an album or two. But
and Gabriel became a bit poppy and all, didn't he? At the end of the day, in that period.
Fucking Sledgehammer. I mean, Sledgehammer is hardly prog rock.
Exactly. No.
You know.
No.
So let's put a nail in it once and for all. Where do you guys stand on Genesis? We know I love them. We know I'm a big fan. We know I love Phil Collins solo stuff. Where are you on Phil Collins, lads? Give it to me. Feed me. That bad.
I like some of his solo stuff. In the Air Tonight is an amazing song. Against All Odds, I love that song. Definitely that artsy fartsy shit that they did with Gabriel was not my thing either.
No,
Like
I'm not a prog person.
I think this is the first time the three of us have ever agreed. You guys always agree on shit, but this is the first time the three of us agree on something that we do not like the Peter Gabriel era of Genesis. We don't like prog rock, but at the same time, I could feel it, guys, when you're trying to describe any Phil Collins liking at all. It's sweaty, it's forced. You know, you're really just trying to. I mean, Mark's just trying to pluck it. You know, kind of. He's grasping at straws. A couple of songs there, but for you, Lee, there's nothing at all from Phil. No.
I'll tell you what it does do, though, and it does even with a lot of 80s music that's not metal, it brings back a lot of memories, Phil Collins, because he was huge through the 80s, especially in, I don't know about America, but growing up, it was a huge part of my life, whether I liked it or not, so it does. I like that. I like being brought back to when I was growing up in the 80s. I like that feeling of remembering it. So,
right.
It's nothing. I haven't got anything against Phil Collins, and I don't mind some of the Genesis stuff. I think I prefer that than the solo stuff.
Gotcha.
And that Invisible Touch, some of the hits off that would probably be, if I sat down and thought about it, probably my favourite album, probably. Even though I wouldn't really like it, it's my favourite. Does that make sense?
No, I get you, but at the same time, it is seen as a pop rock album. But we won't go into the album things. But there is long songs in that. Domino is quite a proggy song on that album, so they didn't completely lose touch with their roots.
No. Good one though, mate. No, it's good, very good. Right, so I might go for even more obvious one now. So this is a replacement singer, but obviously he's most fans' favourite, and was one of the biggest metal bands in the world. And he was a replacement singer. It's Bruce Dickinson, obviously.
Oh, cool.
2 albums with Paul Di'Anno. Bruce Dickinson took over. Still, people were split on the Paul Di'Anno and Bruce Dickinson thing. And in one way, I can understand, because Paul Di'Anno was so different. So, it was just chalk and cheese. I mean, it was like it was a sort of punky sort of sound. They even made an ad with Paul Di'Anno in, and then they became this epic, even a little bit proggy sort of band. But, most fans are, Bruce Dickinson is Maiden now for most fans. Yeah. So this is one of the successes, I suppose, where 99% of the fans have come to Bruce Dickinson. Well, it's been so many years now. But, that's a success story, if you like, a takeover, which most fans have agreed with. But I had to mention it, Bruce Dickinson. Most people probably wouldn't even think of him as a replacement, but he was all the way back then in 82. Number of the Beast, first album, and the rest is history. But Bruce Dickinson. There you go.
Good call. Good call.
There are some people out there that don't even realize there was a Maiden before Bruce Dickinson.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe if you're a metal fan, you wouldn't know that. But I've talked to people that. When I mentioned Paul Di'Anno, they're like, "Who's that? Never heard of him."
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. Go on.
I was just going to say, it's probably, I don't know if you guys have it on the list because we don't know if it's on, but it might be a little bit the same as people just don't know that Bon Scott existed beforehand either. It might be.
Maybe, yeah.
Some people are just,
Right, okay, that's cool. Bruce Dickinson, mate. Right, back to Mark.
All right. Some people would argue this point with me, saying he didn't face anybody, but I'm going to pick Robin McCauley. He and Shanker formed a new version of MSG. Instead of the Michael Shanker group, they call it the McCauley Shanker group. So some people would argue that Robin didn't replace anybody because it was a new band. And I'll grant you that, but it was still MSG. They used the same logo. It was still Michael Shanker's band. When they went out on tour, they still performed the earlier MSG stuff as well as UFO and Scorpions. But at any rate, whether I'm cheating or not, Robin McCauley is my favorite of all the MSG singers. Lee,
Great singer, man.
Yeah, Lee just this morning did a review of one of Robin's new songs from his album coming out, and you know, I've said it before. Lee said it before. His voice has not lost. So whether I'm cheating or not, Robin.
No, well, you're not. I don't think you are. I mean, I think it was just it was probably a bit clever to call it Macaulay Shinker, but you know, it was definitely the same band. It was just it worked out quite well that his name was Macaulay, didn't it? So you know, just use that instead. But
yeah, if his last name had been Smith, they would have still called it the Michael.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
That's a good way of looking at it.
Definitely, mate. Okay, yeah, good choice. Great singer now as well. Fantastic new song came out yesterday, and that album's going to be one of the albums of the year. I can tell both the singles are just superb. So there you go.
Have you just done a reaction video to that? I didn't see it.
Yeah, you'd like it and all, mate. Really melodic, brilliant singing, really catchy stuff. Absolutely superb.
Cool, I'll check it out.
Okay.
All right. I'm going. In 1984, Bobby Kimball left Toto. Bobby Kimball being the voice of Africa, their big hit, you know, anything from the late 70s up to 84, and he was replaced by Joseph Williams. Now, I like Joseph Williams, man. I think he's got a great voice. Even now, he had a few problems with Toto after joining them. I think he left after my favorite Toto album, which is called the seventh one from '88. He sang on that album. There's a great single on that called "Stop Loving You." I think he left after that. He had some drug issues or whatever, but did come back and is the current lead singer for Toto. And I've seen him. I saw him live in 2019 in Cork, here in Ireland, in a venue called the Marquee. He's still got a stunning vocal on him. You know, like really good. He must be in his 60s, I'd say, but just a great vocal on him. He's actually the son of composer John Williams. You know, like the Star Wars team, Superman team, Indiana Jones, E.T. or Jurassic Park. So he's the son of John Williams, Joseph Williams. You guys familiar with Joseph, or have you seen any of his work? I would say just one thing is 2013 Stop Loving You Live. If you type in 2013 Toto Stop Loving You Live, they've done a big gig for an anniversary. Check out that on YouTube and you can see what kind of pipes this guy has on him. But do you know him or?
So I listened to the first Toto. Well, I listened to the really old stuff, Hold the Line, and all that. I remember when all that came out. But the album I actually bought of Toto's was with, is it Freddie Fredrickson on Isolation? Do you remember the Isolation album?
What year was that?
It might have been just before that one. I think it was late 80s. So he must have been in the band before this guy, Joseph Williams.
Right.
And I think they bought an album called Fahrenheit out as well, just before maybe that Joseph Williams joined. But Freddie Fredrickson, they doubled up. He was with that other guy, the main singer. And they both like sang vocals on the album. And
with Bobby Kimball.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that was a great album, but it was they both contrasted. Like one sounded like Freddie Fredrickson sounded like Steve Perry.
Right.
And the other guy had the the voice, and it was great. And he only lasted one album, but so this guy must have come in after. And I've heard a lot of the Toto stuff.
Yeah,
but I'm probably not 100% sure of who's really the vocalist, because I don't follow him religiously, if that makes sense.
Well, Luke Lukather is the face of the band, isn't he? And the Bacaros when they were around, you know. So it's kind of they've never been a band that's about their front man. They've never been about that. It's never been like Bobby Kimball was great and Joseph was great, but they're not the face of the band, even though they're the lead singer.
No.
Yeah.
Cool. No, good one though, mate. I do like a bit of Toto, I must admit. So.
Yeah.
Okay, it's me, isn't it?
It is you. What you got?
Okay, so you know I'm not going to be able to do this without mentioning Todd Latora, don't you?
Oh God! Right, go on. Here we go again. Right, go on.
Well, I mean, it's taken him a while for the fans, and there's still a load out there that won't accept Todd Latora. Jeff Tate, and that's it. And Jeff Tate did what an amazing vocalist! Absolutely, one of the best ever. You know, and one of the. I mean, Todd Latora doesn't do it easy, does he? He takes over a band called Crimson Glory as well, and they had one of the best singers ever in Midnight, and then he goes into Queensryche as well. So I mean, he doesn't, you know, he don't fuck around. He goes to bands that have had the most amazing singers, and I just think he's done an excellent job. He's brought the life back into the band as well. Queensryche, I mean, Mark will agree. Queensryche haven't been good since 91 was it?
Yeah.
When Empire came out or something, or Promised Land is.
I like Promised Land. That was 94.
Yeah. So early 90s. They haven't been good since then. The last 3 albums with Todd Latora, not only has he got a great voice, the band have gone back how we wanted them, all the way back. They're just brilliant again, and there's still fans that bring Jeff back. What a load of bollocks! Just you know, if you listen to Jeff Tate sing now, he's still got an okay voice, but it's nothing like Todd Latora's voice. You know, I wouldn't never want him back in Queensryche. For one, he'll probably ruin the music again, and two, his voice ain't there anymore. He ain't got the power there anymore. But people still won't accept it.
I was going to say those same people that are screaming for Jeff to be back in the band, if he did come back in, they would probably be screaming for Todd to come back.
Yeah.
Because,
yeah.
Like
so all these,
I don't think
these people were like, yeah, you're totally right, mate. All these people all the way through the 2000s were like, where has our Queensryche gone? They're nothing like they were. Now they really do. And people won't admit it. They sound like they did back then.
Yeah.
But people still won't have it. They still say bring Jeff Tate back. It's just ridiculous. So Todd Latora's my choice, mate.
No matter who we pick in this, no matter who we say, you're going to have the fans going, I wish it was this, wish it was that. And you know what? I'll be honest with you. There's a part of me, I don't know if you guys feel about your choices. I wish it was the original lead singer. When I talk about Kelly Hansen, he's a good replacement for him, but I still would rather listen to Lou, you know. So even though I might not, and you guys might not have that toxic kind of fan mentality where you know it's either that or it's nothing. Fuck the rest of it. It doesn't matter. I don't have that mentality. I'll still listen to the band, but I do have the feeling that I still love the original singer. Nobody can. We're talking replacement. Nobody can really replace Lou Bryan for me, but it's about who can stand in for him and keep the band going. You know, so that's what it's about for me, really.
There's a few things for me. Sometimes I would prefer the way it was in the past and the way the singer was compared to the new one. But I wouldn't want the old singer back because it wouldn't be better than what it is now because their voice is shot or they can't even write a song now. So it's not that I don't, you know, I might prefer, it's like Queensryche. Let's just go back to that a second. I prefer the Warning, Rage for Order, and Operation Mindcrime are the best albums they've ever done. And they're better than the Todd albums are. You know, they're better than the stuff that Todd's done. But I would never have Jeff Tate back in the band because it wouldn't be as good as it is now because he's no way as good. So as it is now, it's perfect. And if Jeff Tate was coming.
Yeah, that's a brilliant point you're making. And I made the same point on another video with somebody else where I held up two albums with Steve Perry's voice on them. One was a Journey album from the 80s. And I went, if Steve comes back, you can rant and rave all you want. You ain't getting that. You're getting his Trace's voice. That That's what you're getting. You're not getting that. You're getting that. So you're better off with the experience of the newer singer now because you're getting a better product now, if you know what I mean, if you want to go and see them live.
Exactly. Anyway, that's another rant over with. That's Todd the Tourer done for me. Back to Mark.
I'm just curious. Are you able to see any comments?
No, I can't. Which I was gonna say, I can't see a thing. There's no comments, so I think it's just because I'm on my phone. Just to let everyone know, if there is people watching, the reason I'm not answering is because my laptop has just gone wrong before we started, and I'm on my phone doing it, and I can't see any comments. It's probably something to do with being on my phone. So it's a shame. So I'm sorry if anyone's asking questions. But, yeah, no comments, mate.
My next one, I'm going to go with John Karabi, who replaced Vince Neil in Motley Crue in 1994.
Cool.
I like Motley Crue a lot in the early days, the first 3 albums, I guess. And they gradually started to lose me a little bit. Vince's voice just never has really resonated with me anyway. But anyway, when John Karabi came in, they probably should have changed the name because it was so different than anything Motley Crue had ever done before. But the fact remains, they call it Motley Crue. First song I heard was called Hooligan's Holiday. And I didn't think it was a great song, so I didn't pay it much attention. But then a little while later, I heard another song, and I went ahead and bought the CD, and I'm so glad I did. John brought took them in a whole new direction. They got much heavier. It's probably the heaviest album Motley Crue ever did. And there's a couple of songs on there that I'll rate probably my favorite Motley Crue songs ever. There's a song called Till Death Do Us Part and one called Hammered that, as far as I'm concerned, they're head and shoulders above anything they ever did with Vince Neil. And anyway, I eventually learned to love that album and love what he brought to the band. But as we talked about before, nobody would accept him. It was just so different than the Motley Crue people knew and loved that the fans wouldn't give it a chance. So shortly thereafter, they brought Vince Neil back, and honestly, everything they've done with Vince Neil since, I haven't bought any of it. I don't care to hear it, to be honest with you. Vince is a shell of what he used to be as far as a singer and a performer, and I just don't have any interest in it anymore. But anyway, Robbie is a powerful singer, and just brought a whole new vibe to that band. And I wish more people that haven't heard it would give it a chance.
It's a great choice. I love his voice, man. It's good. He's got a really good voice, and you're totally right. It was totally different. It should have been something else. They sort of went really the guitars got detuned and everything. It was like heavy, really heavy, completely different. Good album though. Yeah, a lot of people's favorite as well.
After he left Motley Crue, he and Bruce Kulick became kindred spirits. Bruce had recently been expelled from Kiss, and John had been expelled from Motley Crue, and they formed a band called Union. Put out 2 studio albums, 1 live album. Unfortunately, that didn't last long either. But Robbie's still out there. He's just not making a big impact anymore. But he's still a great singer.
Good one, mate. Okay, Darren.
Hello, baby.
Fuck off.
Do I even need to say any more? Do I even need to do this? Let's do it, right? Is it or is it not one of the best rock star names of all time? Sammy Hagar. I mean, that man with a name like that was born to be a fucking rock star. You know, what a great name, you know, to be fair. But look, I've done a video. I know you guys watched it, so thanks for that. Thanks for the cool feedback. Reviewing 5150. And as I said on that, I'm an unabashed, unapologetic fan of the Hagar era of Van Halen. So this isn't even a good replacement singer. Hagar, for me, is the de facto singer of Van Halen. I love the debut album. I love the 1984 album. Great. Party time, you know, Diamond Dave's great, right? But Hagar all the way for me. So it's not even just about being a replacement. He is Van Halen.
Well,
I agree.
I mean, well, yeah, Mark agrees with you, actually. I don't know if you
I was surprised by that when I saw Mark's comment.
I never cared for Rolf as a singer or as just a character in general. Coming up, most of my friends were just huge Van Halen fans. And they came here in 80, I believe it was 84, and all my friends went, and they were just shocked that I didn't want to go. I kind of wish I had gone just to see them, you know, in their prime, in their glory.
Yeah.
And there are certain songs by the original Van Halen that I do like a lot. But I got to side with Darren on this. Sammy brought a maturity to the band. You know, the Dave era was all about partying and, you know, having fun. And nothing wrong with that, but I prefer the maturity that Sammy Hagar brought to the band.
Mark, I don't know if you watched Lee's video with his other pals, where they spoke about Van Halen, which was a cool video. You're getting a nice little roster of people, yeah. Lee, so it's always good to see kind of other people as well, which it. But what I was laughing at parts of the video, because not at you guys, more like you were the three of you were afraid to admit it, that you were a fan of some of these songs, and you were struggling to get it out. It's like, can I say I like 5150? Can I not? I know Jam was bit like it's kind of. I mean, just let it go. Admit that you like it. Cut the shit. You know what's on? You're afraid. You're almost embarrassed every time it got to Hagar to say you liked it. It's okay. Be free. We won't judge you.
Listen to me. I actually liked 5150. I thought it was good. I liked it better than Diver Down. How's that? It's better than Diver Down.
Fair enough.
And to tell you the truth, I did like that album. I was disappointed in the ones after. I think they lost their hooks that they had on that first album. I thought, you know, on that 5150, I think a lot of their real catchy stuff, which I liked. So I thought the best, I agree with you on your video, which was great the other day with you on. I agree with you. Dreams, Love Walks In. I fucking love them songs. They were like pure 80s melodic rock for me.
Yeah.
And I think they lost that. They lost their hooks in those next albums. They weren't as, you know, instant for sure. And it sort of almost went like a jam band at points, a bit like they were with Dave Lee Roth as well. But yeah, I think he's got a good voice, Sammy Hagar as well. But I just don't know if the Van Halen thing suited him for me. But you know what? You said something that was really, and I think I've mentioned this before, it's really true as well. They were heading that way for sure with 1984.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, not just Jump. What's the other song on there? It's all keyboards.
Oh
Wait.
Yeah.
I mean, man, that's just pure pop, you know. So they were heading that way anyway, for sure. Whether David Roth was in the band or not, I think.
You're right. You have said that before, and Mark said it before, but I think we've all said it. They were heading in that direction anyway. And what I said in the video was, Hagar wasn't the problem. He was the solution, because he was better for that material anyway. You know, having said that, you're right. Jump could have easily have been on 5150 itself. Yeah. You know, so there you go.
Wait, even yeah. Anyway, that's the you've stirred the shit up now.
Good, because I was tearing my hair out watching that video with you guys. It was a great video, but you were just so embarrassed to just say it, you know. And I was like, just admit you like it.
That nothing would be as excruciating as watching Kent Scriber saying he doesn't like Striper songs. That's like,
yeah, I watched that. Yeah, it was killing him.
Oh God! Right, okay. Right, I'm next tonight. So
yeah.
I'm going with your favourite thing now, Darren. A bit of grunge I'm going to go for now.
Of course, sure.
Well, they're not grunge. That's why I'm going to talk about them, and that's Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
So Lane Staley was one of the best vocalists ever, and he died. Alice in Chains fans need to get over that because he ain't going to come back, and they've got a new singer in William Duval. All right, so they've been very clever with this Alice in Chains because William Duval has got his voice is no way as strong as Lane Staley's. It's just not a patch on Lane Staley's voice. He had one of the strongest voices ever. So now they use him and Jerry Cantrell, who's the lead guitarist, songwriter, and he used to do some vocals anyway when Lane, and they use them together and they harmonize so much now. And they never stretch himself too far. It's more about the songs and not this big powerhouse voice. But they become, for me, a brilliant band, an absolutely fantastic band. And way back then, the Dirt album, which is the main Alice in Chains albums that everyone talks about, which I think is their best album, it's a perfect album if you want to talk about perfect albums. After that, they went right downhill, even with Lane Staley in the band. And his voice went downhill because of the drug problems and everything. But people just say still, you know, that was so strong, that part of the band. They're better now, in my opinion, obviously. But this is one of the big ones, isn't it? When someone dies, they become even greater than what they were. That's a fact. You know, I'm not saying Lane Staley wasn't great. He's fucking brilliant. I love his voice. But they become like a legend and they can't be replaced no matter who goes in the band. You know, you still have it with Randy Rhoads, didn't you? And Ozzy Osbourne. He made 2 albums with Ozzy. He was a great guitarist, but for me, there's been better. But people were still, no, Randy Rhoads is the best. And they get this thing, don't you? When you die, you become something more, something bigger than they ever were, you know.
But that's just pop culture in generally, or you know, like you know, Marilyn Monroe, James Dean. You know, you die young, Princess Diana. You know, you die young, you're forever young, and River Phoenix. It just gets heightened, you know, in terms of your legendary stats. Yeah.
So William Duval's my. I don't think he's got the greatest voice in the world, but what he's done, he's come in and he's together. The band have become superb, in my opinion. So there you go.
Cool.
All
right. What's Mark got?
Let's see. Next, I'm going to go with Tim Owens, Tim Ripper Owens. He had an impossible job in Judas Priest. Now, I've gone on record before. I think Lee kind of agrees with me. I'm not the biggest Judas Priest fan in the world anyway. I know that's blasphemy to some people. I like a lot of their stuff, but I'm not a Judas Priest fanatic like I am with Sabbath or some of the others. But when Tim came into the band, I took notice just because it was so unusual that anybody other than Rob Halford was running that band. And he sounds a lot like him, so he brings that flavor to the band. But he had his own style as well. They did 2 studio albums with him, Jugulator and Demolition. And Jugulator especially, I like that album a lot. But what really impressed me about him, they released 2 live albums with him, and he did an amazing job on the original Halford stuff. And some of his versions of the songs I actually like better than House. And I know people are probably throwing fruit at the screen right now, but
yeah. Sacrilege, that is, Darren, just to let you know what he's just said. It's absolute sacrilege.
I get it. And
of course, the movie Rockstar was loosely based on Tim's story.
Yeah.
Because Tim had been in, Tim had been in a Judas Priest cover band, tribute band, whatever you want to call it. And how he was discovered, somebody had sent a tape to the Priest management when they were looking for a new singer and said, you ought to check this guy out. And it's almost the same as it was in the movie. They called him up. He didn't believe it was them. They finally convinced him it was legit, flew him over to London, I think it was, and auditioned him. The next day he's in the band. But anyway, I'm kind of getting off track a little bit, but he also was a replacement singer in one of mine and Lee's favorite bands, Iced Earth. He was the fourth lead singer in Iced Earth. He replaced Matt Barlow, who was the classic singer, not the original, but there had been two singers prior to Barlow, Gene Owen and John Greeley. And then Matt Barlow came in, and kind of like Bruce Dickinson, he's the one that people think of when they think of Iced Earth. But Tim Owens replaced Matt Barlow for 2 albums. And that first album that he did, The Glorious Burden, is my favorite Iced Earth album. He just did an incredible job on it. I can't imagine anybody else doing the vocals on that album. He's done very well in two big name bands, and then he also had a stint in Yngwie Malmsteen's band. So he replaced whoever was. I think he replaced Doogie White in Yngwie Malmsteen.
I don't know what his problem is though, mate, but he can't stick anywhere, can he? I don't know what is going on with him, but he's in and out of bands, just like, I don't know. Still, there you go. He might go back to Iced Earth. You never know.
We can hope.
Okay. Good choice though, mate. Love him. Love Ripper Owens. Darren.
Yeah, you know, Mark, you said something there that kind of stuck with me there a little bit. You don't have to be the first singer ever in the group to be the legend of the group. You can almost be the second or the third, and then you're a replacement. So I'm going to go down one of our old favorites, which we've talked about a billion times. I'm going to go down to Journey, but this isn't just one replacement singer. I'm just going to quickly run down them all because there's so many, you know, like there's so many replacement singers and they all brought something to it. You start off with Robert Fleischman initially when they're trying to come out of that kind of jam band kind of thing in the 70s. Greg Raleigh then sings lead vocals, but Greg himself is replaced, albeit over the course of a couple of albums, by Steve Perry. We know Perry's caliber, won't go into that. Steve Perry leaves. You bring in one of your favorites, Mark. I know you like him, Steve O'Jerry, who is a terrific replacement himself. Journey almost feels like a kind of it's almost like a car, and every time you fuck up the engine or you go and get it replaced, you know, and they just keep. It's a band because the catalog is so difficult to sing that they keep wearing out people's vocal cords, right? So then O'Jerry breaks down and you bring in Jeff Scott Soto for a period of time. They didn't like him. There was something going on in the background. He's dismissed. And then for 10 years, or since 2008, you've got Arnell. So it's kind of like replacement after replacement after replacement. None of them are better than the third singer in the group, Steve Perry. But none of them replaced them. But they all brought something a bit different, but they all seem to break down even before what's going on now, and we're all locked down and stuff. I think that's probably done Arnell some good because, you know, his voice was starting to break down itself.
Rest period,
but they do, yeah, exactly. I think that rest period is probably good for him because it's a hard catalog to sing, and you're out there belting that out every night. You break down. But let's not talk about Steve Perry because even though he's a replacement himself, who's your favorite replacement Journey singer? Who are you guys going with? Because I can't really pick one because they all brought something to. It's between O'Jerry and Arnell for me.
Yeah, my pick is definitely O'Jerry. I've said this before. I saw him twice with Perry back in the day. I saw him in '83. I saw him in '86. And then I saw Jerry in 2001, and he did an amazing job. I think they opened the show with Message of Love, which just happens to be my favorite Journey song. And of course, Perry never got to perform that song live. So hearing Steve Algeri perform that song live was kind of like a dream come true. And he did it just, he never missed a beat. I mean, they put it on an amazing show that night. And I think he converted a lot of fans that night that, you know, were there hesitantly. Steve Perry's not there, but I'll go anyway. I remember as we were walking out to the car, which we had to park like a mile away, just listening to people that didn't even know his name were just saying, you know, that guy's amazing. He sounds almost as good as Steve Perry. And I think he converted a lot of fans that night. A couple of years later, I was supposed to see him again. And like a day before the concert, they announced that Algeri was out and they were bringing in Jeff Scott Soto. I was not impressed with Soto. He's a good singer, don't get me wrong.
Did you see him live?
Yeah.
Did you see him live?
Yeah. He's a good singer, but he just does not suit that kind of music, I didn't think. It sounded like a cover band with him. The highlight of that night, I think they had Dean Castronovo sing 3 or 4 songs. He sang the ballads. I know he sang Faithfully. He sang Open Arms. He sang Mother, Father, and he sang Who's Crying Now. And I think he even sang.
He does a great version of Mother, Father.
Oh,
he does
God.
a great version.
I think he also sang Still They Ride. So I think he did 4 or 5 songs. But that was the highlight of that show. Not seeing Jeff Scott Soto, but seeing Dean Castronovo play drums and sing at the same time. And he sounded. People talk about how much Algeri sounded like Perry and how much Pineda sounds like Perry. Fucking Dean Castronovo sounds more like Steve Perry than Steve Perry does.
Yeah, Dean Castronovo himself said about Steve Algeri. He said he's Perry with a perm.
Yeah,
which always kind of stuck with me. But you're right. Dean could have been a replacement himself. You're right. But I will say this: every single time you tell me you saw, every single time about you when you tell me that you saw Journey, a little bit of me dies inside. It's like death by 1,000 fucking cuts with you. You know that? You just keep saying, I saw them then, I saw them then, I saw them, and I'm just like, I want to see them once. You've seen them like 1 billion times. It's not fair. It's not fair.
I've seen him 3 times with Pineda, and he's done an amazing job every time as well. I love Arnel Pineda, but I do prefer Steve Algeri. Arrival is if I had to rank the Journey albums, Arrival is my 3rd favorite Journey album. I love that album. I can only put it behind Frontiers and Escape.
Gotcha.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's gotcha. Well, that's high praise. So, Lee, I kind of cheated a little bit. I've gone with every replacement singer after Robert Fleischman.
That's good. I like Algeri better than. I think he's the best one. I'll tell you why. I like Pineda as well, Arnel, but I think he had more of his own voice. Algeri, he had his own. You know, he didn't sound like a Perry clone so much. He had his own character in his voice, but it was still, still had that Journey sort of touch. You could tell it was that sort of voice for Journey, but he had his own character more than Arnel does. Arnel's getting there though. I think he's starting to take his own voice on more now.
Arnel's got this weird ability, which is incredible. If you told Arnel to step out on stage and sing like Phil Collins, he'd do it. If you told him to step out on stage and sing like anyone, Ozzy, anyone, he'd do it. Like he's able to adapt his voice. He can mimic a sound. I think that's his talent. He's able to just mimic a sound, so that's his talent.
I'm looking forward to the new album anyway, if it's going to be this year. I really am. I'm really looking forward to what they're going to do. So excited.
Let's see what happens. What have you got?
Is it me, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah.
Well, I'm going to go. This will be a quick one, this one, because we've already mentioned Ice Earth. So I'm going to go for Stu Block, who was the last singer for Iced Earth. He's just left the band because of all this shit going on with John Schaefer. So, but he was, and I dare to say it, I don't even know it. I might prefer him than Matt Barlow.
Yeah.
Because he can literally do everything. He's deep. The tone he's got on the lower end of his voice is just amazing. And then when he hits the high notes, he sounds like Tim Ripper Owens. He's got like both. So he can sound like the best things that Ice Earth have ever had in one.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, that's what's great about Matt Barlow as well. But you don't get many singers that have got that real good low end voice, and then they can hit some heights.
Yeah.
But Stu Block, I think, out of all those singers, is the best at it.
Yeah.
We'll move on though, because that could be a bit controversial. That. So
you guys really love that band.
Oh, they're great. They're absolutely great, and I'm so gutted, mate, because I've only loved that band for a couple of years now, and now what's happened to them, I'm just like, I was so excited. It was like my new sort of band, you know, just discovering them, and then all of a sudden they're gone because of all this crap.
Yeah, I get you.
Anyway, there you go. That's Stu Block's my one, mate. Back to Mark.
Okay, next I'm going to go with Mike Vasera, who replaced Minoru Nihara in loudness. Talked about this on the 89 live stream, but they brought in Mike, who was an American singer, with the hopes of broadening the audience of loudness. Minoru Nihara had an accent, but it wasn't an overly heavy accent. So I didn't really think that the change was necessary. But anyway, they brought in an American singer, and I love both versions of the band almost equally. He did two studio albums, and then they later released a live album with it. But he was just another great singer. He also was in Yngwie Malmsteen's band for a while. Malmsteen's had everybody in his band, seems like. But anyway, Vasera, he's had some other projects since, but he's probably the best known for being in Loudness. And that eventually, when the metal kind of became out of style here, Loudness went back to Japan, their homeland, and they brought back the original singer, and he's been with them for about 20 years now. But that short period between, I think it was 89 and 91, 92 with Mike Vasera was a very, very good era of Loudness.
Cool.
Not something I'm overly familiar with, if I'm being honest. I don't know much about this subject, so I'm not either, to tell you the truth. But Mark definitely promotes the band,
well,
as he does always.
Their guitarist, Akira Takasaki, if I had to rank my all-time favorite guitarist, and maybe we'll do that sometime, he's definitely going to be very, very near the top. He's just a guitar god. But like I mentioned before, if Loudness had been an American band or a British band, they would have been absolutely huge. But they were Japanese. People looked at them kind of as a novelty. And, they've got their hardcore fans, but a lot of people just didn't give them a chance because they were Japanese.
Great one, mate. Excellent. Okay.
All right, I'm on my last one. That's a good idea for a video, actually, rating our favorite guitarist. Let's throw that one down on the notes, Lee. That could be a good video. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Definitely.
I'm drinking tea out of a new cup, by the way. Did you ever get a new cup taste? It's awful. Yeah. Anyway, just thought I thought
it was a whiskey or something, an Irish whiskey. That's what I thought you was drinking.
No, it's just standard English breakfast tea, and it's in that new cup. I've got the barcode still on. Oh, anyway, should have used the normal cup. Right, I'm on my last one. I'm gonna go. So Dave did my time, took my chances. Bickler left Survivor in 1984. Great singer. Was on them early Rocky hits and their early albums. Survivor had a couple of great early albums. They were really cool.
What's the one I said I like? What's the one I said I like? With him in it, mate.
It was the
Caught in
second
the
album
Game.
with
Caught in the
Game. Yeah, that's
Love
it.
that
Great album. Yeah, really, really good. Great. I'm definitely gonna do a video on that. That's one of them albums as well. But I have already done a video on one of Survivor's albums, and it's with the replacement singer I'm talking about, Jimmy Jameson, who came in '84. He's one of my favorite singers of all time. This is almost underrated. In this, it could nearly be a series of underrated singers. Jimmy Jameson doesn't get it. If you ask the average person in the street, they wouldn't know who he is, you know. But man, he's one of the greatest singers of this kind of material of all time. I mean, he's toe to toe with Perry. And his wife, he died in 2014, unfortunately, from cancer. And his wife was very kind to me on my video. Actually, she said that Jimmy would have really liked my review, which was quite cool.
Nice.
Which was really nice for her to comment on my video. So, just brilliant. He's just such a great voice. Not just the Vital Signs album, the one that came after it as well. Just absolutely brilliant. He was such a great replacement for Dave Bickler. And again, like Hagar, as much as I love Bickler and that, as you're saying, that Caught in the Game album, Jimmy Jameson's voice for me is Survivor. But later on in life, him and Bickler did co-lead Survivor on later tours together as joint lead vocalists. But great replacement singer for the time.
Great, mate. Excellent. Yeah, I love Jimmy Jameson, mate. And someone was saying that, you know, comparing him to Perry. Perry had that real power, I know. But Jimmy Jameson, he had that way, the way he sort of like, he was the perfect AOR singer. He sort of, the way he sang certain words and that, he was just, you know, perfect for that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Great. Absolutely brilliant, mate. Okay, it's me, innit? Okay,
it is you.
So I'm going to the band Accept. So they've had their new singer now. Well, you wouldn't say he's new. He's been there for 5 albums now. Mark Tornillo. So he took over from the, you know, Udo Dirkschneider, I think they pronounce. He's been with the band since the beginning. They did have another singer at one point in the 80s at some point. But Udo Dirkschneider is known as the classic Accept singer. Really strange voice, Darren. I don't know if you've heard Accept at all, but they're a proper metal band, like German metal band, but he's got a strange voice, Udo Dirkschneider. It's like a mixture of Bon Scott from AC/DC. He sort of shouts, sort of, and when he really shouts, he goes into this weird sort of like, you know, almost manic sort of sound. But Mark Tornillo sort of took over, and he's American, Mark Tornillo, but he's got that Udo Dirkschneider sort of sound still, but I think he's got a better voice. I prefer his voice, and the last 5 albums have been absolutely fantastic, and he can really hit some heights. And I don't think he's young or anything. He's getting on a bit now, but he can still scream to the heavens as well. So
yeah. Look, you guys know me. It's never a secret that I like the softer element of rock and AOR. But I love AC/DC. I love Metallica. But when it starts getting any shouty or more Cookie Monster than that, I'm out.
It's not really like that. But
You've got
I know what you mean. But
it's not a Cookie Monster growl. But a very gravelly. Whiskey kind of voice.
Right.
I agree. He's a great replacement. I was not that into Accept until Tornillo joined the band. I'm a bit like that. Same as you, mate. Yeah, same as you. That first album, Blood of the Nations, I bought it after hearing about it on that metal show, and I was blown away, and I've been a big fan ever since. But the earlier stuff I never did spend that much time with.
Okay, right, back to Mark. And I think one of his singers, though, mate, even though you've run out of people at the moment, though, Darren, I think Mark's got one that you might be wanting to chip in on.
Yeah.
All right. Do that one next one.
Yeah, my next one's going to be Jolynn Turner. He replaced Graham Bonnet in Rainbow. He replaced Ian Gillan in Deep Purple. And again, he was in Yngwie Malmsteen's band. Great soulful singer. Rainbow, as I mentioned before, wanted to go in a more commercial direction. So when Ronnie left Rainbow to join Sabbath, Blackmore brought in originally Graham Bonnet and he did the one album with Rainbow, and then that didn't work out. So I brought in Jolyn Turner, and he did 3 albums with Rainbow. And the stuff he did was very commercial compared to what they had previously done with Ronnie. Some of my favorite Rainbow songs are Jolyn Turner songs. Great singer. Yeah. And again, when he joined Purple, a lot of people said it wasn't really Deep Purple. It was more of a Rainbow album, and I can certainly see why people would say that. But again, that was a great album.
Yeah, we've talked about Joe, haven't we, Lee, on the Sunstorm project.
Great singer, man. Well, yeah, great, absolutely brilliant singer. I like the Rainbow stuff as well. I mean, I Surrender, Street of Dreams, all them really commercial. I mean, I don't like to say commercial, but really catchy stuff. You know, Stone Cold,
radio friendly, say.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, totally different to what they became. That's the good thing about, you know what, I was never a Richie Blackmore fan, Rainbow, but he could switch his style of playing up and the songs totally. He was like that, from that classic sort of stuff he did with Ronnie Dio, then to the stuff with Jolyn Turner was just so different, you know. But I like it when an artist experiments like that. But love Jolyn Turner's voice, man. Absolutely brilliant.
Great choice.
On them Sunstorm albums are just amazing. Absolutely
brilliant choice. Lee, can I ask Mark a very quick hypothetical? And Mark, you have like seconds to answer. Who comes top of your head? If there had to be a replacement singer for Michael Sweet in Stryper, who replaces him?
Oh God. I don't even have an answer to that, Darren. That's a tough one.
Wow.
I can't imagine anybody. Very
would it even be accepted? It wouldn't.
Very briefly, they back when he first left the band, they did bring in a singer. His name was Dale Thompson.
Bride singer.
Called Bride, and they did 1 or 2 shows with him. I never heard any of it. But then there was also a very brief period where Stryper played in Scandinavia as a 3-piece, and Oz Fox did the vocals. And Oz is a great singer as well. I don't know. I can't imagine Stryper without Michael now, but for a very brief period, they did try to carry on without him. But as far as picking a named singer to step into his shoes, I can't really think of anybody that to me would be a good fill-in. I'll have to think. I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
Yeah, it is. I thought I'd throw him on the spot for that as a bit of a hypothetical.
Yeah.
Right, this next one, I'm not going to spend long on it because I speak about him all the time. I'm just going to say it. Ronnie James Dio. There you go. taking over from Ozzy Osbourne. There you go. I don't have to say anything else, do I? Really, on that one?
No, I think you know, we all have one, don't we? Mark has Tony, you've got Dio, and I got Steve Perry. We never shut the fuck up about them. So you know what? You might as well throw it in.
So everyone still goes on about Ozzy versus Dio. Totally different. I liked Ozzy with Sabbath the way they were. I think it suited the music. But Ronnie with Sabbath was the one for me. Just, man, absolutely superb. I just think he's great. And this is someone who, you know, after he's died has also become bigger than, but someone who totally deserves it. Totally deserves it. I always said when Eddie Van Halen died, like last year, I said, you know, some people die, don't they? And everyone comes out of the woodwork and says what a nice person they were and all that. They never did that with Van Halen, Eddie Van Halen. He was probably right murder to work with, but in the way his playing was spoke about, that wasn't exaggerated. And the same can be said about Ronnie Dio. When you say how good his voice was, it ain't because he died and he became better. He was just amazing all the way up until them last Heaven and Hell concerts he did. His voice was just mental, absolutely. And he makes sometimes ordinary songs better than what they are. There's not many singers that can do that. So that's it. Ronnie Dio is my second to last.
Yeah, if they ever did a Mount Rushmore of rock singers, here's a hypothetical for you then. If there was going to be a Mount Rushmore of rock and metal singers, who would you have on it? Okay, obviously Dio would be there. Steve Perry would be there. Who would be the other two?
Oof. That cliff isn't long enough. I'd need more faces than 4. Or that rock isn't big enough.
I probably would have Jeff Tate up there actually.
Okay, yeah.
You know, I'll probably have Jeff Tate up there at his best. Obviously, we're talking at your peak, ain't you? Yeah.
It's too obvious. I would round it off with, I know it's obvious, but I don't know if you guys are big fans, but taking it all into account, I would probably have Freddie Mercury up there as well. I'm a big fan of Queen, man.
Yeah, great singer. Great choice there, mate. Yeah, for sure.
You know what? We won't get off the topic too much, but what the reason, it's not just Freddie's voice why I put him up there. When it really counted, to stand on the world stage and show what a rock star you are in front of a billion people in Wembley Stadium. He walked out there and strutted that stage like no one has ever done before or since. That was when it counted. That's what elevates you up to Mount Rushmore status, not just your voice, the fact that you could do it when it counts. And fuck me, he done it when it counted.
Oh, yeah.
What blows me away about him, my all-time favorite Queen song is The Show Must Go On.
Oh, yeah.
And to know that he was dying when he recorded that song. I mean, he was very near the end of his life when he recorded that song. The power in his voice when he was essentially on his deathbed is just
stunning. And you talk about replacement singers, no one's ever replaced them. They don't even. Who did they bring in? They brought in a really talented guy straight after him. I can't think of his name.
Paul Rogers.
Paul Rogers.
And I think
brilliant.
I think he did a very good job, but it just did not sound like Queen.
No, and even we go back to it. We go full circle, Lee. You go keep talking replacement singers to American Idol and Adam Lambert. Like Adam Lambert is flamboyant like Freddie. He's got a great voice, but they don't even make him an official member of the band. You know, it's Queen and Adam Lambert, you know, so they know themselves no one can replace Freddie. So we talk about replacement singers, nobody replaces Freddie.
Totally agree with you there, mate. Won't argue with you there at all. Okay. Mark, we're on to your last one, I think, mate.
Yeah. This is actually going to be a twofer. David Coverdale and Glenn Hughes replacing Ian Gillan in Deep Purple.
Wow.
Coverdale was the official replacement, but Glenn Hughes, being the brilliant singer he is, a lot of the songs they traded vocals. Probably the biggest known song of that lineup was Burn, and that was just masterful the way they traded vocals in that song, and their voices complemented each other so well, because they were both very bluesy, very soulful type voices, and they instantly formed a connection, and very, very different from the material they had done with Ian Gillan, but they kind of carved their own niche in that band. And anyway, like I said, I'm picking two guys there because they were essentially sharing lead vocals on a lot of those songs. And of course, Coverdale went on to do Whitesnake. That's what he's most known for. It's hard now to think back, you know, that he was in Deep Purple, because Ian Gillan is so associated with that band.
The poshest rock star in history.
Yeah. Glenn Hughes has done everything since. He's just unstoppable. But yeah.
Cool.
Good choice, mate. That
is a good choice.
My last one.
He froze.
It's Skinner.
He's frozen.
So he's really tragic, obviously, what happened to Leonard's. Yes. Oh, you're my back. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
so,
you're back. You're back.
I'm back. Okay, all right, good. Sorry. So Lynyrd Skynyrd is my last one, and Johnny Van Zant. So late 70s, the plane crash obviously wipes, well, nearly all of the band out. That's so tragic. And then some would say that it shouldn't have carried on. So it did. Lynyrd Skynyrd carried on, and Johnny Van Zant became the lead singer, and it's Ronnie Van Zant's brother. And I just think he's done a brilliant job in probably one of the hardest things to do. I love Lynyrd Skynyrd, man, especially that early, period. And I just think that he's got a very similar style to his brother. But I think they've been accepted now after all these years. They've been going so many years. I mean, if you think about it, they think their early 80s was the first album they brought out with. They got a few family members together, especially Eazy's brother, like I said, and they basically had to start from the beginning. The music probably wasn't as good back then at the beginning, but the last couple of albums have been really good. And I think, I'm just glad it's sort of that people can still go to those shows and hear that old Lynyrd Skynyrd stuff. And and Johnny Van Zant really sounds like his brother. So I think to go up there and listen to Freebird, Sweet Home Alabama, and Tuesday's Gone and all that, okay, and I think my brother's the biggest. One of my brothers is the biggest Lynyrd Skynyrd fan. It's his favorite band, and he's been to these shows, and it shows that they'll be doing Freebird, for instance, and they'll have the screens up at the back with all the guys that died in the plane crash, playing at the same time. And he just says it's just so amazing to see it. So I don't care what people say, man. If it's good, it's good, isn't it? I mean, look, I'd love to see him now. I missed the chance to go and see Skynyrd a little while ago, but obviously the original band were just amazing. But I just think it must be so hard, for that sort of situation. And we talked about, didn't we, people dying and the whole band, being replaced. Well, there was no choice in this one. I mean, plane crash, didn't it? But
agreed.
Yeah, love Skynyrd, always will. I think they're my favourite sort of. I don't love every bit of Southern rock, but Skynyrd are just, for me, are amazing, just legends. There
Good
you
choice.
go. That's my last one.
You don't do too many videos on them, though.
No, I don't. I mean, it's just if they brought new music out, I would be straight on it. I think Blackberry Smoke are the new Southern band that have basically took up that mantle of Skynyrd, and I love them. Yeah. Every time they bring a bit of music out, I'll be doing a video with them. But no, the Skynyrd ain't. They're not very prolific in bringing albums out now. It's just not. I think the last one was about 7 or 8 years ago. So
right.
All right then, guys. I've enjoyed it. I apologise to anyone who's watching trying to comment, but I don't know what's going on with that. I'm going to try and get my laptop fixed, and we'll have comments next time. So I apologise if there's people watching moaning at me. Why aren't you listening to me? But I can't see any comments at all. So all right then. Thank you very much. Cheers for joining me, guys. It's been great.
Yeah, you know what? As Mark's a terrific guest, and I know he does a lot of videos and stuff with you. And I'm a fellow YouTuber, Lee, and you have crossed 1,000 subscribers at this point. We're well over it now, or you're a good few over at this point. I'm about to hit 500 subscribers, nearly. So nice. I'm kind of enjoying, teaming up with you a little bit, because it's, it's a good community of people, and two YouTubers getting together like this is good fun. So I'm enjoying it. And
yeah, listen, all you guys out there who are watching this, and last time we done a live stream, we got a couple of hundred views on it. Hopefully we get the same on this. And honestly, check out, you'll find a lot to like on Darren's channel. Does some great videos, and his editing is fantastic. Something that I would never have the patience to do. But and they're really good. They're really good fun, looking at mainly classic albums as well that we all love. And it does, honestly, when I play some of your videos, it brings back a lot of memories from my childhood as well, which is cool. So
yeah, cheers, mate. It's good. It's good teaming up like that. So yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it's been great. And thank you very much yet again, Mark.
Thank y'all. Love you guys.
I just want to say how freaky that was the other day, that Tony Martin video with you.
What's that?
The Tony Martin video with you. You're too freaky. You know that, didn't you? You know, it was just weird. Did you see it yet, Darren?
I did. He's like fucking Google. It's unbelievable. His knowledge.
It's weird, isn't it? It's weird.
It's unbelievable. Where does he keep it? I think you mentioned it to him. Did he even have any notes written down? Did you have notes written down for him?
He had years written down. He didn't have any names. He just
when some of those albums were released, that was all it written down.
Yeah.
Weird, isn't it? Weird.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me.
Of YouTube.
Yeah. Thanks for joining me, guys, and I'll see you soon.
Guys.
Cheers.
Laters.
See you later.